The bullets that ended Big Paul Castellano's life last night may very well have been a payoff for getting into such trouble with the feds. As the reputed head of the crime commission and the godfather of the Gambino family, his appearance in court every day and the preoccupation with his defense were bad for business. Experts say his associates may very well have decided Big Paul was more trouble than he was worth.
In a brazen display of the Mafia's unwavering grip on the city, Paul Castellano, who was the reputed head of the Gambino crime family, was ruthlessly gunned down outside a bustling Midtown Manhattan steakhouse on December 16, 1985. The shocking assassination not only sent shockwaves through the city, but also marked a pivotal moment in the relentless power struggle that defined New York's underworld. As winter's chill settled over the bustling city streets, the morning of December 16 had already been marked by an unnerving sense of apprehension. In a premeditated act of violence, Castellano's execution was meticulously planned and executed by the hands of rivals who sought to seize control over the Gambino family's vast criminal empire. The orchestrated hit was a grim reminder that even the most powerful figures were subject to the cold grip of rival factions. The scene of the crime, Sparks Steakhouse on East 46th Street, transformed from a popular dining establishment into a grim tableau of fear and chaos. Disturbingly, the execution played out as hundreds of unsuspecting patrons continued to savor their meals, oblivious to the frightening drama unfolding just outside. As Castellano stepped out of his black Cadillac, the echoes of 3 chilling gunshots pierced the air. Witnesses, paralyzed by fear, watched in horror as the once invincible crime boss crumpled to the ground, his life extinguished in a matter of seconds. The shooters, dressed in trench coats and dark fedoras, fled the scene, leaving stunned bystanders in a state of shock and disbelief. The assassination of Castellano served as an undeniable sign that the organized crime underworld was far from dormant. It exposed the violent rift simmering within the Gambino family, ultimately paving the way for a new and audacious era of criminal leadership. The ruthless slaying simultaneously dealt a blow to the delicate balance of power within the city's criminal syndicate, and sent a chilling message to rival factions vying to fill the void. It marked a symbolic shift towards a younger, more audacious generation of mobsters, led by the infamous John Gotti, who would soon emerge as Castellano's successor. Gotti's rise to power following Castellano's assassination set in motion a new era of bloodshed and treachery, solidifying his status as one of the most formidable figures in organized crime history. The Teflon Don, as Gotti would later be dubbed, swiftly capitalized on the chaos, expanding the Gambino family's influence while instilling an unyielding fear in the hearts of his enemies. Decades have passed since the fateful day when Paul Castellano met his untimely demise. The haunting memories of that brutal assassination, however, continue to serve as a stark reminder of the volatile and treacherous underworld that lay hidden beneath New York City's dazzling facade. As law enforcement agencies and the broader public grappled with the complexities of organized crime, the murder of Paul Castellano forever etched a dark chapter in New York's storied history. In its wake, it left a void that was soon filled by a new syndicate intent on wielding power through ruthlessness and fear. It was a tumultuous legacy that would linger for years to come, exposing the raw brutality hidden behind a world that operated in secrecy and shadows.
The bullets that ended Big Paul Castellano's life last night may very well have been a payoff for getting into such trouble with the feds. As the reputed head of the crime commission and the godfather of the Gambino family, his appearance in court every day and the preoccupation with his defense were bad for business. Experts say his associates may very well have decided Big Paul was more trouble than he was worth.
We're working on the theory that there was internal strife within the family, and this may be a matter that is resolved just within that one family. We're working on the theory that possibly he was considered a liability in as much as the pressure of all the cases that are being brought against him and the other families made him a liability and not effective as a leader.
The violent death of Paul Castellano brings back to vivid life an old tradition in the history of this country: gangland executions. Shakespeare said of kings, "Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown." The same might be said of those who rise to the top of organized crime. They get there by violence, and often as not, they leave by violence. 1957, Albert Anastasia, the head of Murder Incorporated, murdered while he was having a haircut on West 59th Street. 1971, Joseph Colombo, head of the Colombo family, shot in Columbus Circle, 7 years in a coma, and then he died in 1978. 1972, Joey Gallo killed in Little Italy, during dinner at Umberto's Clam House. 1979, Carmine Galante, boss of the Bonanno family, killed at a restaurant in Brooklyn. And yesterday, Paul Castellano, the head of the Gambino family, the largest of them all in this country, murdered outside a restaurant on East 46th Street. In the world of organized crime, the tradition is that murders do not go unavenged. Still, traditions have a way of changing, even in the Mafia.
Recent indictments and prosecutions of the mob leaders is causing an upheaval in the underworld. Yet efforts by the prosecutors to put the crime kingpins in jail are still subject to organized crime's way of doing things, their own kind of law, public murder.
The ability of the mob to kill people in cold blood and get away with it gives them the ability to terrorize other people.
They terrorize by killing their own in public. Deadly messages from organized crime to organized crime and the rest of society. The murder of Gambino crime family boss Paul Castellano yesterday, or the 1979 assassination of Cosa Nostra Don Carmine Galante. Unsolved, very public executions by an underworld that plays by their own rules and their own code of justice. The Castellano murder particularly brazen and defiant, since Castellano was gunned down a day before he was to resume standing trial for auto theft and murder. Organized crime had served up its own sentence. John Martin, does law enforcement bring these organized crime kingpins to justice, or is it organized crime taking care of its own in their own way?
Well, generally, I think we bring them to justice first. There have been a number of very successful organized crime prosecutions over the years. The rare event is an event like the death of Mr. Castellano, where somebody who is in the process is killed. It has happened before, but by and large, the system brings them to justice before there is retaliation.
In the wake of the Castellano murder, the U.S. Attorney Rudolph Giuliani says he's going ahead with the trials of 4 other mafia chieftains in order to keep the pressure on the mob.
We're fighting a war against a group that does not have unlimited reserves. And that's the best kind of war to be fighting. That's why I think there's a real prospect that at least the Mafia as an organization can be diminished or wiped out.